There have been movies about making movies, but Harrison Shue, Ivan Leung, and Katherine Dudas have gone well beyond that with extremely unique dynamic. It's a film about filmmakers making a film about filmmakers making a film. It's a comedy with lots of dramatic elements, and it will open this year's Vancouver Asian Film Festival on November 7th. Harrison is from Vancouver. He graduated from the University of Southern California. As an actor, he's appeared in Shameless, Grey's Anatomy, and Young Sheldon. Thanks for joining me, Harrison.
Thanks for having me, Charlie.
Oh, it's great. First off, congratulations on Extremely Unique Dynamic. I enjoyed it immensely. I'm not the only one. It won the Best US Feature at the Catalina Film Festival and an Award of Excellence. So I have to ask you, how would you describe Extremely Unique Dynamic to someone who hasn't seen it?
The best way to describe it is the genre that it's in. I would describe it as a Asian meta queer coming of age stoner romantic comedy. I think it touches a little bit on all of those aspects, and you said it really well. It's, two best friends, their final weekend together, and they decide to make a movie about two guys making a movie about two guys making a movie.
And how did you or Ivan get the idea for the film? I'm wondering what the origins were.
Yeah, so a lot of it's based off of our true lives. We were in Ivan's room brainstorming, and we had just come off of working together for the first time. I, like my character in the movie, work in film marketing, and I had Ivan help me with this movie called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So we ran the entire social campaign for it, and it was our first time working together, and we really got along well. And that inspired us to actually make a film because we had both been in the industry as actors for 10 plus years. And it was my final year before I moved from LA to Vancouver back home. And we really wanted to just make something together. And a big portion of the meta aspect of it actually ties back to Vancouver. When I was 16, I watched this musical at the Granville Island Arts Alliance Theater called Title of Show. And it's a musical about people making a musical. So I was like, well, no one's ever done like people making a movie about people making a movie about people making a movie, that third layer. So that's how that idea really came to fruition.
And can you talk about the two lead characters because they say so much and they represent so much in their own ways.
Yeah. So yeah, a big portion of these characters are based off of ourselves. So I play Ryan in the movie, who's a digital marketer. He's about to move from LA to Canada. And Ivan plays Danny, who's, a rapper and an actor, and it's their final weekend together before they part ways. But a big impetus for why we created the film was because Ivan and I had been actors for a long time, but we never really had an opportunity to be in anything together because oftentimes, when you're auditioning for projects, you have one Asian male. And when you have one, you've checked that box and you're good in diversity. And it's very rare that you get two Asian males in the same friend group because often like Hollywood thinks it's too much or now it's an Asian friend group. But for us, like unless it's like an Asian movie where it's an all Asian cast, it's really rare to see two Asian males in the same film. So that's why we created it, so we can be in it together and we can be two very different people within the movie as well.
And what were your goals when you set out to make the film?
So for us, we really just wanted to showcase our abilities as actors. Oftentimes, as a working actor, you're a guest star on TV or you're a supporting role in film. And for us, like, we wanted to showcase more of ourselves, that we're not just, one-dimensional characters that are serving the leads. We wanted to really showcase all of us and all different aspects of an Asian male friendship, especially one between a gay best friend and a straight best friend that you don't typically get to see in media very often. So, yeah, that was a big portion of it. We just wanted to create that opportunity for ourselves to showcase our abilities as actors. And in doing so, we really love the process of filmmaking and writing and directing. So, it's really opened up a lot of doors for us.
Well, what I found so fascinating was it opened and it's comedy and it's zany, but then as it goes as it evolves, there's some really penetrating insights, and particularly or including the experience of people of Asian ancestry in film and television. And I'm curious how the situation has evolved as you see it.
Yeah. So when I first started acting, I was 15 years old in Vancouver, and my very first role in TV or film was uh, on this TV show called V. It was on ABC about aliens, and my character name was Chinese Boy Number One. Um, so as you can imagine, like, coming from there to where we are now, like I think when I first started, Asian roles were very one-dimensional, stereotypical. Typically, it was like you were a nerd, or you were a martial artist, or you were something that like didn't really have much dimension to that character. And then we kind of went completely in the opposite direction after Crazy Rich Asians really blew up. We had really hot leading Asian men, which is great too. You have like Simu Liu and Shang-Chi, and um, it was awesome to see that the industry had at least moved on past just characterizations of Asian males and all Asian characters. But I feel like it left a big gap in the middle where you don't just have roles for Asian people to just exist as they are. So that's something that I think the industry is slowly coming around to. And that's a big reason why we made this film too, is so that we can play these characters that we typically don't get to play.
I wonder, were there any stereotypes that you were trying to puncture with this film?
So, I mean, because the movie's so meta, our characters in the movie, without spoiling anything, like they talk about all these issues pretty head on in a way that's like very on the nose, where you probably couldn't get away with it in any other type of movie. But because our characters in the movie are talking about it, or sorry, our characters are talking about it, then we're able to explore these things. And a lot of these conversations that Ivan and I were having in the movie were very real and came from a real place.
Well, you and Ivan have so much chemistry on screen, and it was such a joy to watch. I was also wondering if you wrote all of the scenes, or like what percentage of them might have been ad-libbed, because it had that kind of spontaneous feel to it.
Yeah, so we had a really strong scriptment where we had where each scene started, where each scene ended, and possible things that we could talk about. So that way, at least we knew the whole film would have structure to it. But a lot of the dialogue in between was ad-libbed. We had
It felt
very
that way in a way, and
yeah.
and I really liked that about it.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to the trust that I had with Ivan in this. Ivan's one of my closest friends and such a fantastic actor. And when we're in these scenes, just ad-libbing with each other, there was such a free flow to it. And like I said earlier, like a lot of these conversations came from such a real place. And it just requires a lot of trust because, this movie is mostly two characters and there's a lot that happens in it. And we talk a lot about a lot of things, but it all still serves the purpose of the movie and like gets us from point A to point B. Um, and yeah, it was just so much fun with having that ability to just ad lib and riff off of each other because I think it allows for more natural conversations and yeah, and a lot of the comedy comes from that as well.
The other thing that was fascinating was the footage of the children, and I don't want to give it away or spoilers, but what were you trying to accomplish with those home video scenes in the film?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we wanted people to take away from our film was the idea of making a film is very daunting. Um, and we often forget that when we were kids, we would just pick up a camera and just mess around and shoot silly videos. And I think the kid footage in there is really an homage to that. It's like not forgetting that inner child of play and fun because there's so much pressure that we as creatives put on ourselves to make the perfect film. And I think like if we think back to when we were kids, it's like we didn't care. Like we were just shooting things because we loved it and we wanted to be creative. And that's why we had such uh, we put so much importance on the kids' footage in the film.
And you're from Vancouver, a city with rich Asian heritage.
Yeah.
Yet, in all the years I've lived here, and I'm from BC, I've felt that people of Chinese ancestry have been invisibilized to a significant degree in popular discourse. It's almost like there's a two worlds we live in, the world in the streets and then the world that we see in arts and culture and media, cinema. And I'm curious to know if you felt that way when you were growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was saying earlier, like when I started acting about 15 years ago, the only representation I saw of myself on screen was these stereotypes. It was like the super nerdy Asian guys or martial artists, and there
Yeah.
were very few characters that were just like Asian people that just existed. And I think that's why a lot of people my age who are actors got into acting in the first place. It's so that we can portray ourselves in a way that future generations can look up to and be like, oh, like I can be like that, or like I can see myself on screen. And yeah, like I definitely feel like the industry has gotten better in the past decade or so. I still think we have a ways to go, but a big part of that is just people going out there and creating their own content because there still aren't enough Asian writers and directors out there. There's a lot of Asian actors out there, but I think um, I would love to see more Asian representation behind the camera as well.
And one of the things you've lived in Southern California for many years, and my sense is the Asian American community or AAPI community is quite vigorous in terms of civil rights, and I don't know if that's a carryover from the U.S. civil rights movement and infusing that spirit that it exists in
Mhm.
the United States. But and in Canada, we haven't seen it to the same degree, is
Mm.
my perception. And I'm wondering how living in LA might have affected you in terms of how you view the world.
Mm. That's a good question. I mean, I think in the US, especially in the last 5 years, like with COVID and everything, I feel like the Asian American community got hit really hard. And, the whole Stop Asian Hate movement really invigorated a lot of us to even further get involved in the industry and like get our voices seen because I don't know what it was like in Canada during COVID necessarily because I wasn't there, but I just know in the US it was particularly tough. There was a lot of Asian hate crime.
It was very tough here, and
Yeah.
but we did see a mobilization. But I'm speaking more about the tradition of mobilization. I think has been more pronounced
Mm.
in the States, even pre-COVID. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just also the US is so ingrained in like political activism. I mean, we have an election coming up in a couple of weeks that everyone's very nervous about, but I think it's just the US as a whole. I feel like there's a lot of pressure with everything that comes out of the US politically because it kind of dissipates to the rest of the world. So that's why I feel like, yeah, there is definitely more of an eye towards that for sure.
And I'm wondering what advice you have, Harrison, for young people who want to be seen in all of their manifestations and not just reduced to one aspect of their identity, whether it's race, ethnicity, national origin, and,
Yeah.
and what you might have learned over the years.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for us, like when we made this movie, it was really so that we can showcase ourselves in all facets. And I feel like hopefully our film encourages people to allow themselves to live their lives to their true full authenticity. But my advice would be like create that opportunity for yourself too if you're not seeing it. It doesn't have to be a full feature, it could be a short film, it could be however you creatively express yourself. But I feel like um, a big reason why we did that was that, and it's been really great because now that we've done it, we've seen the effect it's had on other people and on ourselves. And I just think creating content is the best way to do that for yourself.
And I also noticed when I watched the film, there was just a little slice of Cantonese in there.
Oh,
And I'm wondering if you've given any thought to making films with more Cantonese in the future, or even Mandarin. I saw that you can speak basic Mandarin as well on your bio.
yeah, I would love to. So Ivan and I, we both speak okay Cantonese and okay Mandarin, and um, we'd love to do like a Cantonese comedy at some point. Like not fully in Cantonese. Our Cantonese isn't good enough right now as it is, but it would be really fun to do that for sure.
Well, I'd love to see his song, Taco Loving Asian Guy, if he would sing it, if he's ever considered rapping it in Cantonese. It may be hard because it's a tonal language and you have to master that as well.
That's actually a hilarious idea that I will bring up with Ivan, and that could be a really fun remix. Just
Well,
the release in
he'll
Canton.
reach a new audience, you
Yeah,
know? And so where do you see your career going from here, Harrison?
I
Or are you
would.
going to be in the marketing world or are you going to be make more films?
Well, so I still do marketing. I actually love film marketing, but I really fell in love with making this film. I feel like oftentimes as actors, you're typically at the bottom of the totem pole. You kind of get what you get. You're constantly auditioning for other people's projects. And when we created this film, Ivan and I really felt this sense of ownership with this project. Like we've been working on it basically since last February. It's been almost 2 years on this project, and it's been some of the most fulfilling work that we've done because you're able to fully create this project how you want to create it. Everything that happens with the project is on you, really. So, um, I'd love to continue making films. Now that I'm back in Vancouver, I'd love to shoot another film in Vancouver or a TV series in Vancouver. I have a lot of ideas that I want to explore, and the last I moved back to Vancouver in February, and I've tried to meet as many people as possible. I've been involved in um, some things like MAM, for example, which is like that short film competition within Vancouver Asian Film Festival, and I've met really awesome people there. So I'd love to tap into the local community here in Vancouver because there's so many talented people and there's so many stories waiting to be told. And yeah, I'd love to, focus on filmmaking for the next few years, but also, I'm still a working actor as well. I do a lot of voiceover work, a lot of video games, occasional TV film work. So yeah, just staying as creative as
I'm
possible.
also wondering how challenging it was to get the financing because I didn't think this movie was
Sure.
made in a weekend, even though the film within the film was being made within a weekend.
Sure. Yeah. So Ivan and I actually put our own money into this project.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we shot it as low budget as possible. We pulled as many favors from friends as possible, and that's how we got the movie made. But yeah, it's a matter. I mean, the reason it was done that way is because we were on a short timeline. We wanted to do it before I moved from LA to Vancouver. And if we tried to fundraise movie, it would have taken probably too long. And then we would have had a lot of people with creative, who wanted creative input. And we just wanted to make the movie that we wanted to make. So that's, how we ended up with the project that we had.
Well, this is wonderful, Harrison. Are there any other points you'd like to make or anything I've neglected to ask?
Um, no, I guess the only other thing is I'm really excited for this film to open Vancouver Asian Film Festival. It's kind of a full circle moment for me because my first film role was in this short by Quentin Lee that played at Vancouver Asian Film Festival in 2011.
Oh
So
wow. So
yeah,
you're back at VAF. Yeah.
I know. And what's crazy is I wasn't able to attend VAF 13 years ago because I was just going to USC. So I haven't actually been to VAF before because, I've been in LA for the last 12 years. I just moved back and I missed that first VAF. So I'm excited to bring the film there. And it's really awesome to see this film bring everything full circle. So that's awesome.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when Barbara Lee started it back in 1995. So, well,
Yeah.
this is wonderful, Harrison. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been great to hear your story and your and watch your film.
Thank
So,
you, Charlie.
I've been speaking to Harrison Shu. He's co-producer, co-director, and co-writer and co-star of Extremely Unique Dynamic. It's opening the Vancouver Asian Film Festival on November 7th.